Well, a very, very warm welcome to the Goldmine Show, man. We are absolutely excited just to bring this show to you and just to keep reminding you of the greatness that you are, because, man, you are greatness, man, and greatness resides on the inside of you, man. As we say on the Goldmine Show, you can never quit on the greatness on the inside of you, and that's why we must remain that voice that reminds you that you are greatness, man. Allow me just to take a moment and thank you for making us the number one most creative, most impactful, most innovative digital content creator on the Maker Words, man. We can never thank you enough for taking us all the way to the top, man. We are because you are. This is Ubuntu at its best, man. Well, it's a month of May, and I just want to come and interrupt our usual programming, man, just to share some reflections with us, man, because and while we are greatness, we must be cognizant of changing times and changing tides, and we've got to ask ourselves as we see changes happening, and I must just say there is no small change. You've got to be on the lookout for what's going on, man, because whatever changes sometimes does impact your own journey. And today you will notice, man, we don't have no guests on the bench. I am that guest. I'm the host at the same time. And how about that, man? And I just want to share some thoughts that have been just going through my mind, because as I see things evolve, then I ask myself very fundamental questions. Are we preparing ourselves for what's coming up next? And are we preparing our children for the days we lived in, or are we preparing them for the days that come up ahead, man? You know, when I was growing up, technology wasn't quite the thing it is today. It wasn't quite the thing that it is today. And when you thought about careers and when you thought about professions, you possibly thought about the ecosystem of that profession and the ecosystem of that career without really thinking too hard about technology, man. I've been doing what I've been doing for nearly 2 decades now, and I think when I was raised for what I'm doing now, most likely the people that molded me didn't think too heavy about that technology, and really it has carried me for a couple of years now. Now I do carry the responsibility of asking myself for the next 10. Now that what was invested in me has brought me maybe for 20 now, for the next 10, it's no longer the responsibility of the people that raised me. It is my responsibility to begin to figure out what is changing. And as it changes, how am I changing? So that then I position myself for the next 10. But that question is also relevant for we, the parents who are raising a generation. Because then it is easy for us to keep pushing them around this subject or around that program and etc. on the basis of the world in which we were raised. But we've got to realize this: we live forward, we do not live backwards, and we prepare forward as well and not prepare backwards. And as parents, we've got to remember very clearly that we are not preparing them for the world in which we grew. And I think I'm going to say that one more time. We're not preparing them for the world in which we grew, but we're preparing them for the world up ahead. And they shall live in a world different from the world we grew up in. And the question is, how much attention are we giving to how we're raising them and what programs they carry, and as we send them to school, colleges and universities and all of that stuff, and even primary and elementary spaces, how much thought are we giving to how well we are preparing them for the next 10 years? Forget about my 20, man, for the next 10 and possibly even for the next 5. How relevant is our investment in them today going to be in the days to come? And I think this is extremely important. Last couple of days I've just been listening to very interesting conversations, and I'm possibly going to let you in on 1 or 2 of those. I listened to this amazing lady who is a tech by training and had some venture capitalists just investing in her vision and her dream, and her vision and dream really was more in the medical space. So note this: she's a tech but with a vision in the medical space, and particularly she was interested in the oncology space. And so you will hear these terms being thrown: AI, data, and all of that stuff, man. And she has invested heavily in the AI space. Went and sat around doctors who are oncologists and started listening to them and asking the questions of, so how do you go around your prescriptions and etc and diagnoses? What kind of questions do you ask, and what is the relevance of the answer in the wider scheme of things, and how do you tabulate this answer and what really do different answers mean? And they began to walk through all of those different tests Dr. does on you, all of those different questionings that they do on you, and began to code it and put it on technology and on code, and it's been interesting just listening to her say to me that as I build these questions in, a patient can walk in and begin to answer some of those questions, and part of diagnosis begins to happen, and it begins to point you to the fact that we need to do this test further and that other test I need to see. And for a moment, man, it almost occurred to me that an oncologist, there's a portion of them beginning to get embedded in technology, that I can interact with technology and I get an output that begins to point me in a useful direction. And I began to ask myself, so where is this world going to? And I take medicine as a profession. Is there a possibility that part of what the doctor does is beginning to get cloned? There's a lot of machine learning that goes behind the scenes, and there's a lot of data. Today, we believe data is becoming a major buzzword. And a few years ago, they started talking about data being the new oil, and maybe we didn't fully wrap our minds around what that meant. But today is becoming a real thing, and you will find organizations, your Apples of this world, maybe the device is just a means to an end, and maybe the bigger goal is about data, and you'll find them selling you a phone and selling you a watch, a wristwatch, and selling you a television and etc. But isn't it interesting how much data then this begins to harvest around our lifestyles, and it begins to harvest around who we're becoming and etc. And it was possible for you to say, I'm in the telecommunications industry, but I think that too is beginning to evolve and is taking a different shape. And what looked like an innocent phone is no longer just a phone, man. And there's a whole host of other things going on in the background. And I ask myself, where is this world going? And how are we preparing ourselves? And how are we preparing our children? And how are we preparing the next generation for where it is going to next? And if these are the realities we begin to see now, then the question must be asked, how should we be preparing for the next 10? How should we be preparing and raising our own children for the next 15? Now you can come and say to me, oh, you know, our school doesn't offer all of that. Well, that's not going to be an excuse, because find where preparation is available for your children. If it is not available purely in your school, it might just be a combination of this location and that other location, this exposure and that other exposure. But you do have a duty to prepare them, not for where you're coming from. And I say that one more time. It's not about where you grew up. It's not how it was working then. It's going to be about where we're going to next. And look, man, if some of our jobs could be easily replaced, then we've got to begin to ask ourselves differently in terms of where we must go, man. I chatted a friend of mine the other day, and really this is why we do this show today differently from how we've done it before, because as we listen to all these things, man, we just got to talk about them and we begin to think about them. I listened to a friend of mine say to me, you know, even in our office contracts, standard parts of the contract, we're getting robots just to review that for us, and unless there's a variation from what is standard, then that contract doesn't need anyone else to review it. It is good to go. And so back in the day, you'd talk about our legal department having a stack of files looking through, and some of those are standard. But if they're standard, but someone is saying to me, I no longer need a team looking through that, because there are robots that can review these things, and we cannot bury our heads under the sun. I think the moment calls for us to reconfigure and begin to build the skills of the future, and the skills that shall be relevant in the days to come. I listened to someone else say to me, we review our general processes and say, which part of that can we automate? It could be some, it could be a lot, it could be little, but whatever that milestone is, let's build bots around that and possibly replace And no doubt, from an organizational perspective, it creates greater efficiency. It creates a lot of efficiency. And we see these gravitations going in, and I could go from industry to industry, because in every industry is getting impacted. Why? Technology is becoming at the heart of a lot of what we do. It is becoming more central today than it was 5 years ago. And if you drew that graph, it's going to be even more central another 5 years to come. It's going to be more central in just technology has made great possibilities come to pass, and that is great, because from a consumer side of things, you enjoy the convenience, you enjoy the benefit that brings. On a click of a phone, you will move fans from one location to another on the other side of the globe, and this is the beauty of technology. And as it creates these possibilities, I tell you for free, man, the demand side is ready to consume, and I think we are just galloping it. And that demand side could be at retail level, individual level, household levels, and it also could be at corporate levels. And whichever those positions are, well, there's a world out there ready to consume that, and it is just galloping it, man. In fact, I just want to take a break and just show you something I just saw right here. You know, back in the day, we had these pool attendants who would sort out our pools and all, but I was fascinated just to see that while a guy used to do the cleaning, I just wanted to take a look at what's going on, because even the guy cleaning the pool is getting replaced by technology. And right about it, I say to you, if what you do is easily replaceable, then it's time to think hard about what you're doing and where you're going, man. Well, look at that machine right there, man. It's just cleaning the pool easily. It is doing a good job. It is just flowing in, sticking its work. It's just cleaning, man. It is cleaning. That's where we go, man. I mean, there are guys who used to do this. Look at it. It's even climbing the wall, man. It's not just doing the floor. It goes all the way up, climbs the walls, and turns around and cleans the whole thing up. And, well, that guy has no emotions. He's got no feelings. He does it when you want him to do it. They do a pretty good job. This may look small, but I dare say it is not small. It is not small. It is big. In my view, it is big because it could cause massive changes. And this could look in the small spaces, but I'll shortly show you that as you go to bed in the evening, you can just set up an automated hoover that also cleans your space. And by the time you're coming in the morning, your house is clean. And I don't know what that means for that industry, but technology spares none of them. It goes all the way, man. And maybe you don't need to change the industry, but the question is, what shall your role in that industry be? And how are the changes going on impacting where you must play it? Because that is important. Well, talk to us, man. We want to see what changes have you seen? How has that impacted you? And if it hasn't impacted you yet, if you're projecting it in another 5 years, how is that going to project? In fact, the career advice you give as a parent, man, and this is us as parents wanting our children and the greatness for them. In the career advice you give your child, how well are you investing in just being able to give good guidance, or do you really need help? And at some point, it's also okay to say, man, I don't think I'm competent enough to advise because I'm not even keeping up with the changes that are going on. And that's fine, man. That acknowledgement is a great place to start at, so that then you reach out for the help that you truly need. Because then at the end of the day, we want to see the best for them. And for the record, just because you're not keeping up with how fast it's changing does not cushion you from it impacting you. It's going to impact you either way. In law, they say ignorance is not defense. So whether you're aware, whether you're keeping up or you're not keeping up, well, that doesn't cushion you in any way, man. It's not like the proverbial thing of putting your head under the sand. Whether you put it under the sand or not, man, you're going to be had for lunch. So question is, might you be in need of help on how to navigate the future? And do you need to reach out? There is no weakness in reaching out. Man, go ahead and just reach out to who you need to reach out, because then the future for free is not going to be a continuation of the past. And that future is not too far. It is in the present. Yeah, but of course, we cannot finish before we show you one more use case, man. An interesting one. We've seen cleaning of the pool. Now, I just want to show you, man, while you go to sleep, you can set up devices. Begin to clean your house, man. So I want to give you this one more treat before we finish the show, and I hope you keep thinking about this, because it is all changing, my friend, and you've got to change it, and you've got to have the right lenses about how it's going, man. So come on with me, and let me just show you one moment. This is I'm gonna throw in as a treat, my friend, because this is a Goldmine Show, man. Oh man, so that things, the future looks more solid. The future looks like what it should be, because then changes are happening. Are we preparing for the past, or are we preparing for the future? And so, my friends, man, it is happening. And my big message to us is we've got to acknowledge when it changes, and we must prepare not for where we're coming from, but where we're going, man. Prepare yourself and prepare your king. Prepare those folks, man. And look at 10 years, look at 5 years from today, and ask yourself, are you ready for it? Is the skill you're equipping in yourself and the skill you're equipping in your children going to get them future ready, or is it about the past? It is happening, man. Technology is at the heart of it. It's going to impact things, and you might as well begin to align to it, because then you're not going to fight it. It's going to be here, and it's here to stay. Well, I hope that has inspired you, and I hope that has been helpful to you, and I hope those thoughts are good for us to begin to consume. We could discuss any industry, it is impacted, and therefore the future requires some level of thought. The future requires some level of adjustment. The future cannot be jumped into ignorantly, and ignorance is no different. You're a gold mine, your children are a gold mine, and the generations you're raising are gold mines. But we've got to take careful, calculated decisions about how we prepare, because we don't prepare for the past, we prepare for the future. We don't live life backwards, we live it forward. We might as well do what we must, so that then the gold mine inside of us is not undermined by ill preparation. You're a gold mine, my friend, and we want to keep reminding you that you are greatness. Keep working the greatness inside of you. Don't you forget to follow us on the Goldmine Show on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, and everywhere else. But most importantly, keep spreading this word, man. But let's also know what your thoughts were concerning this conversation, and let's open this conversation, and let's keep having it and having it, man. Until next time, God bless you. And by the way, it's May, 5 months into the year, man. Want to ask you, how you doing with your 2023 goals? Are we moving fine? Keep checking them out, man, because we want to see you at the end of the year having accomplished all that you set out to do, man. God bless you, and until next time, keep working the greatness on the inside of you.